And what do you know, we actually caught the start of qualifying for once. And ladies and gentlemen, you join us at the very start of qualifying here in Qatar for the next round of SLR Tier 2. I'm your host, Lars of the Red Hot Lovers, and with me, of course, as per usual, is CM Punk. And potentially, we could see quite a momentous occasion here today. Do you want to explain what potentially could happen here in the championship, Punk?
Of course. So if we have done our math right, and I really hope we did, we are looking at potential champion crowning here tonight in Qatar under very specific circumstances. Those are that Basco, the current championship leader, has to win tonight's race, and also in the same race, the championship contender Larson, who is in P2 in the championship at the moment, cannot score a single point, because even if he does score a single point, then math-wise, it is possible for him to equalize if he would go on to win the last two races with the fastest lap and with Basco not scoring a point. So the only way for Basco to become a champion is to win, and Larson to not get a single point tonight.
As John Wick retires, I'm not sure if he had a quality ban or a problem there, but of course the other saving grace would be that if Larson finishes in 10th and scores a point, if Basco takes the fastest lap along with the win, that would also secure the title. Because you get the extra point for fastest lap.
Yep.
So, Larson, it's not like he has a mountain to climb to keep in the championship fight, but if he wants to realistically have any chance of winning the title, he really has to take the fight to Basco here. There's only 3 rounds left, including this one, I believe.
Yep.
And which means a max of 78 points up for grabs if you win every race and take every fastest lap. So it's a tall order for Larson to secure the title. Basco probably wasn't thinking he would be in this position, but of course we've had promotions throughout the season. Of course people will have their own view on that, as to say, well, did Basco really deserve the title then? Because others were doing better than him, but that's by the by. The fact is Basco is staring, potentially, at a world championship, depending on how he does today. But he's got a lot of competition up ahead of him. Looking through the field, only 15 drivers, which makes it a little bit easier for them in some ways, for both Basco and Larson. It means Larson has more chance to score that single point he needs to stay in the fight. But looking down the grid, we have Piggy, Hallinan, Whistlewil, Ocean Chief, Verch, Horizon, John Wick, who is retired, Futuristic, Smelto, Larson, Basco, Snaxolotl, Magnetic, who is pulled over on the side of the track for some reason, stuck in 3rd gear. There he goes. Keyboard Magnuson, the ever-looming threat from last time out in Japan, and what appears to be a new reserve here, we have GRL Giannis, however you say it. GRLG, we'll call him Mr. G. As Mr. G slowly makes his way around turn 1 of this Qatar circuit. Very fast, very flowing, very divisive in previous seasons. I know some drivers that absolutely adore this track and others that loathe it with a passion. Not sure what side of the fence you fall on, Punk, but it'll be interesting to see what it brings to the table for this potentially championship deciding race.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this track, as most of it are straight. There are a lot of high-speed corners, which I'm not particularly a fan of. However, Ocean Chief delivers the first time of the session, 122.6. That will be the bar set by the Aston Martin driver to hop over, and Horizon does that splendid as he goes 122.013. while Keyboard Magnussen 122.8, and Ever Snacks, his teammate of Horizon, has beaten his own time. His time to go for a new provisional pole 121.9. So the Haas are securing 1-2 for now, and it's already gone. Smelto with 121.9. So only 2 drivers able to go underneath 122, Smelto and Ever Snacks. We also had Basco putting a time on board 122.3, and Verge with 122.2. 60, so we're now waiting for the rest of the boys, but it's looking well for the Haas drivers, and of course Smelto seeing a provisional pole position. Basco so far P5 after his first run, but then again he will have much more opportunities with Futuristic going 125.1, the slowest so far. There goes Magnetic. We're of course waiting for Larson, who's still in the pits, so that technically is just dragging away what we want to see. And we want to see interesting battle already in qualifying, because Qatar qualifying is definitely important. So now we have to wait and see what Larson will deliver and how this is going to be competitive against Basco.
I just want to quickly interject. The Basco, the only reason he's down in 5th there is quite well done as well. The 2 McLarens working together. Smelto got the slipstream off of Basco on that lap. So Basco sacrificing his first run and still making a reasonable banker time. Oh, as Piggy loses it dramatically, somehow keeps it out of the wall. We were riding with him for that one. That was terrifying. Lost the rear on entry, counter steer, but the rear gripped too much, and it sent him spinning the other direction. Somehow kept it out of the wall. My goodness, that was beautiful to watch in many ways, but not beautiful for Piggy, who seems to have gone for a very aggressive setup. But he seems to be okay, and will carry on. But as I was saying, Basco sacrificing his first run, obviously looking to get the favour payback later, and that could serve him well in getting towards the front in the final runs, which could be what he needs to secure this title. Smelto knows what's at stake, I'm pretty sure. And both McLarens, of course, with the added incentive that Alpine have not been doing too well in recent races since their 2 drivers moved on. In fact, are not even in this race. They are in with a shout of the Constructors' Crown as well now. It could be the double whammy for McLaren. They are currently sitting 2nd in the Constructors. Still about 30, I believe it's 38 points off. I'll double check at the end there. But if a couple of good finishes for McLaren, and if the Alpine drivers don't show, then the team that was dominating in the early half of the season could suddenly find themselves losing out on what many thought was a guaranteed Constructors' Crown.
Absolutely, we still have Larson in the pits with 11 minutes left to go here in qualifying session in Qatar. So I wonder what's the plan of the V-Carb driver, the championship contender. He does need to make this lap count, but will he be able to do a good one? Basco will, of course, most likely get a help from his teammate Smelto, who he helped before, like you mentioned, with his slipstream. Most likely it's going to go both ways, where Smelto will support Basco. At the end of the day, Basco is the one who is fighting for the championship. Eversnacks has done a very good lap so far. We do know Haas are remarkable at doing great qualifying and then bottling it in the race. It's going to be hard to bottle it today as 15 drivers are on the grid, so hopefully nothing will go wrong today. Because
that's a little bit harsh, isn't it? Have we forgotten Japan, where he just romps away with a victory?
Yeah, like I'm saying, they do have a potential, but they just fail to deliver consistency, you know?
Fair enough.
If you want to aim for the top, you have to be consistent. And this is what's been lacking for the Haas so far this season. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's awful. And the reason McLarens are at the top is they don't win every single race, but they're always near the top. They're always consistent until they just go away. And Helnan has retired from the session as well.
In the pit lane.
Larson's still being in the pit lane. What is
We're
going
just
on
watching
there?
his teammate at the minute, actually, Futuristic, who interestingly is out on the medium compound tyre. And he set all his laps on there. He's done a 123.8 on that medium, so not the slowest in the field. And I wonder what's his plan here? Is this a sort of a mini test for Larson to see what way the tyre behaves, to see what overheating is like? Is it just a delaying tactic? I genuinely don't know why he's on the mediums. It's not like we're in elimination quali where, you'd maybe think, oh, I'm definitely not going to get knocked out, so I'll not waste a set of softs. It's just straight fight for pole. But he's plodding around on those mediums, has done for 3 laps. And rather unusual strategy. Piggy, meanwhile, I think he's Piggy has invalidated again. He's really not having a fun time around here at Qatar. 124.2 is the best time on the board, and that was a lot with his massive spin, I believe. Or if it wasn't, he certainly made a mistake somewhere. The only one he's in front of course, is the ones that have DNF, Larson, who's still in the box, and our new GRL Mr. G, who is doing a bit of cross-country there, as the camera cut to him. But, you know, it's his first time here in this league. He said a 133, which I don't think is representative of his overall pace. It'll be interesting to watch his progress. And is it me, or does a sudden new guy out of nowhere suddenly feel like, oh, the potential for a guy to win the championship, and suddenly we have an unseen dark horse in the field? You have to wonder. He's nearly missed the pit lane there, though. Steady on, Mr. G. But here we go. This is what we're talking about. The McLarens are... Look at this. As Verch goes on to provisional pole, but may not sail away for long, because Basco is now receiving the slipstream from Verch. Or not from Verch, from Smelto. And let's see what he can do in the sector times. As Eversnack's will take the provisional pole.
Good one. Really good one.
Bit of a lock-up there from Smelto. Not sure if he's actually compromising his teammate more than anything else. Only using hot lap mode at the minute, the two McLarens. No sign of... Oh, there we go. There's a small burst of overtake, but they've got plenty in the tank. Well, they're only halfway around the lap, of course. Well, what's the sector times? They're coming up to the interval now.
Yeah, a
Basco improves by nearly 5/10.
Ooh, that's going to be a good one.
That's a 21.8. It's not enough for pole at the minute, but of course he's got another sector to go, following his teammate, and that's where he'll get the most of the slipstream. Now the question, of course, is, if this is the way they're doing it, if they're alternating, are they going to have time for 2 more runs, or who's going to sacrifice their final run? Because someone has to. That's how this all works. As he does take pole, that worked very well, at 21.57.
Melto takes pole. Interesting. Basco, who was in
the
slipstream before. Jesus.
Basco.
That's surprising.
Oh, wow. 2/10 off. So Smelto, even when pulling away, improved on his... That's quite extraordinary. Now, whether Basco was just reserving some in the tank, he had about 40% of his ERS left. Maybe a little bit unsure as to how badly it would burn. I remember on last year's game, it was very easy to burn through your ERS before the lap had even ended. So maybe just being a bit more cautious on that second run. But both McLarens now harvesting. Whether they'll do another run on this soft, I do not know. But it's P4 for Basco, which is still a decent position, especially with Larson still sitting in the pit lane. But he really wants that win. And you have to wonder, would we see some team orders if Verch and Snaxalot will get, you know, overtaken? Would we see Basco being let through? Or do the McLarens just go papaya rules? It's funny, we have the whole McLaren debacle in real life and in the game now.
Yeah. What's going on with Larson? A couple of minutes left to go. Is he even going to appear on the track in the qualifying session? Because
I'd imagine
a couple of minutes to go. Still in the pits.
Ocean Chief. Sorry, I'm just looking at the times. Magnetic's on another run. Ocean Chief is down. Whistle is 7/10 up on his personal best. Futuristic finally boxes off of those mediums. He's done 5 laps on them, which is a very interesting strategy call.
A lot of testing.
Probably could be a wee bit of testing. Whistle, this is what I was on about with the ERS. He's in hot lap mode, and he's obviously used overtake. He's already down to 5%. He's not going to have enough ERS to reach the finish line. Maybe he does just. He improves. He does just. He improves by nearly a second. Still in the 22s, but a massive improvement there. Magnetic has spun.
He was spinning on the corner. No idea what's going on there. Yellow flags.
Ever revolving Mercedes. Piggy is 10 seconds quicker in Sector 1, so that we know where he made his mistakes. That would put him on the 123. And it's a purple Sector 1 from Piggy. Hold on. Hold your horses.
Ooh.
There may be another twist in this tale, because we know what Piggy's like.
I don't know about you, but in my game, Piggy invalidated the lap. I don't know how about you. Is it just EA? In my game, Piggy is right now on invalidated lap. I don't know who's right. Is it my game or yours?
On my end, he's pushing hard. He's still using overtake, and it seems pretty clean to me. He's purple Sector 2.
It's not Piggy then. Yeah, it's Janice. Sorry.
Oh, it's Janice. Sorry, I'm on the wrong one. This is even better for a twist in the tail.
Interesting. That is getting interesting.
Once again, he's burned most of his ERS on the hot lap, or on the first and second sector, but this is still a massive improvement. Coast it round the fan corner. It's a shorter run to the finish line this time, of course, on this year's game. And across the line, It's P6.
Solid, solid.
Solid, indeed, is the word. Beating the likes of Ocean Chief, Whistle, Keyboard Magnuson.
Finally, we got Larson on the track. He's gonna
Indeed
do
we
one
do.
lap only. What's the plan behind this one? One mistake and your whole qualifying session is ruined. What's the idea behind this?
Put you under the pressure, maybe. Just makes you have the pressure to perform. Some people prefer it that way.
Does he like the pressure? That's the question.
Some people prefer it. Let's just have a check on. I'm just going to check the team chats real quick because I'm wondering if there's a reason why Halanan and John Wick retired. I didn't see any thing about qualifying bans. Where are we? Tier 2 General.
Yeah,
and Discord's not loading because I'm streaming, but Larson starts his lap. We'll ride on board with him actually for this one. Good speed carried into turn 1. Keeping it in 5th gear, which is kind of interesting. A lot of drivers like to go down to 4th there. The difficulty with this track is you have to use the curves, and while they won't spin you out, it's very easy to carry slightly too much speed and just go a little bit too wide. Like that, he very nearly did. You heard him having to get out of the throttle.
Ooh, purple.
Purple sector 1. Just wondering who that is behind him.
That would be...
Come on, tier 2 General.
Hurt. That would be Red Bull of Verge, who is behind Larson. Larson going through the second sector. Possibly could be another purple. Let's see. How well is this gonna go? The ERS being burned, but not as fast as you're expecting to burn it. It's not purple, but it's still looking good so far. As the Smelto, Eversnax are still in the pits. Only for the top Verge is preparing a quick lap while Larson's on the hot run. Heading to the final sector. He invalidated! Oh no! He messed
Invalidated?
up. He messed up on the final sector. That's gonna be a lot of trouble for the V-Carp as he heads onto the main straight. Begins what's gonna be his absolute final lap. But he only has...
I'll tell you what, as Verge takes pole, he won't be able to use overtake as much now on this final run because he's down by about half his ERS. He'll have enough to stay in hot lap for the whole lap, but there will be no overtake for that Red Bull car. Or RB car, I should say.
Oh, look at the traffic in turn 1. McLaren's, Red Bull, everybody going through the sector 1 in first corner.
Smelto leading the way, as we suspected. Basco. Wait, they're only on out laps, so that's fine. So who's on a hot lap here? This could cause some problems.
Larson, I think he... Sorry, not Larson. That's the second V-Carp of Futuristic.
Futuristic, no, he's on an out lap. Who else is in that queue? We got a Williams.
Fine. I think they're all on out laps.
Whistle, no, they're all on out laps. That's okay. That's fine.
Yeah, Keyboard retires. He's done. Larson working on his last chance for a hot lap. I'm not sure what time could have been from his first lap because he did have purple. Oh, a bit of a slip up in a second sector.
He seems to have regained a little bit of time as Glannis retires. He's had enough. Or Giannis, I should say, or Giannis, however we say it. But P6 on debut, not a bad showing at all from the Mercedes driver. Considering they only have 8 points, he could be on for about half the team's haul in this race alone if he does well. Keeping on the hot lap mode, Larson did have enough to use a bit of overtake. He hasn't used it yet. It'll be a reasonable time, but it'll not be... Oh, maybe 120... No, it's in the 122s. He's only P10.
He had some energy to spare, and that mistake definitely didn't help him. Well, that's awful session for him. Still, Magnetic, Futuristic, and Piggy are on the laps, either out lap, or hot lap. So there's still possible improvement. Verge retires. What about the McLarens? As Basco runs behind his teammate Smelto, so possibly looking for an improvement. Eversnax also on a hot lap trying to improve. Same with his teammate Horizon, who actually improved after the first sector just a bit. Ocean Chief sets the purple second sector, so there might be a whole lot of shifts before the final moments of
I'm just watching on board there, sorry, Smelter going well wide just to stay ahead of his teammate. He knows what to say here, and he's bailed out, has he?
Yeah,
maybe just a little too late on the brakes, but it's a purple sector 1. Basco's got to do it all on his lonesome now, though, because Smelto, I think, outbraked himself into sector 2. So it's all up to Basco now. He will not have Slipstream for the rest of the lap. He's got to find about 3/10, just under, to take pole away from Verch, who was on pole last time and fluffed it. So let's see if he can do better this time.
Yeah, Horizon's done with P5. Eversnax will be the first man from these guys to cross the finish line right now, as he's rounding out the final sector, going for the final corner as we speak. And Eversnax, will he improve from P3?
No, he will not. He will abort the lap. We've got Larson aborts. Wissa is improving.
Is Basco gonna do it? Is he going to move from P4 anywhere closer to the top?
He does
goes for
take pole!
position. Nice. 1:21.391. Beautiful lap. Topping Verge, of course, with a small assist from his teammate, but he gets the job done. And McLaren is on pole position with Red Bull up the front. Smelto in the second row with Ever Snacks, unless somebody will improve. We've got Piggy and Magnetic on a hot lap.
And do you know what?
Piggy really improving.
Do you know what? Our title contenders are starting in the exact positions that would guarantee, if it stays as it is, that would guarantee Basco the title. Basco is on pole and Larson is outside the points.
Ooh, that's
Larson has a lot of work to do.
Yeah,
Because, of course, he has to not just only survive this race to keep the championship going, he has to start eating into Basco's lead.
Yeah, I mean, Futuristic is right ahead of him, so I wouldn't be too scared of at least picking up a point. That is, if Larson doesn't make a mistake along the way, because I'm not sure that Futuristic will just defend from Larson to not give him the point. But still, it's not going to be enough. It's only going to be math possibility that is going to win the championship. If he realistically wants to win it, he has to deliver tonight. And it's going to be tough looking at the pace that the McLaren's boys have to spare.
I tell you what, though. Like, look at the competition he has around him. Yes, he's got Smelto in there to maybe protect him a little bit, but Verge at this point has nothing left to lose, and he will probably want to go for the win to turn around his rather disappointing season. Snaxolotl and Horizon will want to get a boatload of points for Haas, and they're 4th and 5th. They're looking promising. Ocean Chief is on the up as well, and Giannis will obviously want to impress as well. Keyboard Magnussen, never discount him. He's always shown potential, potentially even his strategy, more so than in outright race pace. Anything could happen at this Grand Prix. There is no guarantee that it stays as is. There's no guarantee it's a quiet race. And it's going to be nice and sunny for the start here. But will the sun be shining on Basco by the end of this race? Or will he be sitting under a cloud, potentially waiting another week for that World Championship?
Yep, we're going to find out at the end of the race. That's surely going to be an interesting one to watch for. We're, of course, going to keep our eyes open for Basco and Larson's performances, as they are the most important when it comes to the championship. But of course, we keep our eyes open for possible surprises. We have 2 Haas drivers in the top, I believe, top 5 at the start of the race. That doesn't happen often, so this is a great potential for the Haas boys to show what they got, to show that they can actually deliver all the way through to the finish, not just have a sensation in the beginning and then bottle it. So hopefully they can deliver. The Red Bull of Verge, definitely a bit underrated right now, being inside of the McLaren sandwich. Will surely try to fight for the win because, like you said, nothing to lose. And a lot of possible fight in the midfield, as we didn't really know how good of a pace is for either John Wick and Halanan. So there are 2 surprises at the back waiting for us.
Well, we're about to find out. 5 red lights. Let me control the camera, please, game. And they're away, and Verge gets a better start this time, but he still gets the rear wheel spin, and that allows Snaxolotl. What a launch from Snaxolotl up to P2, and challenging into turn 1. Makes it say, oh no, Smelto's round. Just saves it. There was contact in the midfield. Where has Keyboard Magnussen come from? He's up to P4.
Jesus.
And
so we had a spinning McLaren. We have damage on the second Haas, and that was the Haas
Horizon.
Was that Horizon who has been damaged?
Giannis barging past Ocean Chief saying, get out of it, I'm up to racing here. Smelto survives his excursion somehow. Lord knows how Keyboard Magnussen got up that high. Snaxolotl with the best start. Futuristic and Larson actually doing battle here, and we have a collision at the back. That's Magnetic again. Can this poor man please catch a break? Gets away without damage, but he's at the back of the field again. So
Larson dropping down to P10, and Piggy right on the back.
Halanan also in trouble.
Halanan is with the yellow flags now. Piggy is right on the back of Larson. Larson in an awful spot. He was about to be P8 for a moment. He dropped behind his teammate. Then Wizzo picked his opportunity. And now Piggy is lurking on the back of Larson. This is absolutely awful for the VCA. Remember, if he doesn't make it into the points and Basco will stay as a winner, this will be the end of the title fight this season.
He is in the points. He's actually improved on 1 position from where he was, and he is starting to close up on the Williams of Whistlewell. Ocean Chief, meanwhile, loses out to Futuristic. His teammate obviously trying to make as much moves as he can. Basco has not been able to drop Snaxolotl significantly on the first lap as we come around, and Ocean Chief and Piggy are in their own little civil war with the Aston Martins. John Wick trying to carve his way through the field, having not done qualifying. Larson lost out. He must be running very high downforce. He lost it all on the DR on the straight there. He's down to P12, so he is out of the points and in. But he is, if I change it to the tyres, he is running the hard compound. which would explain the lack of pace. Giannis, Larson and Magnetic all running hard compound tyres, hoping to go along on the counter strategy. So that explains the lack of pace early on from Larson.
Yeah, they will most likely try to go the long way as of right now. He just needs to stick behind the rest of the field and just use the DRS and some battery management to stick behind the rest of the boys and use DRS to stay in touch. However, he's under pressure again from Horizon this time, who, if I remember correctly, had a bit of damage, or he was involved in a situation that caused him some damage, so still Horizon pushing hard on him, while Basco was able to hold on to the lead of the race. Eversnax, like you mentioned in the beginning, great start from the Haas, and is looking very optimistic right now, as Eversnax does have a pace to challenge Basco tonight, which is also important for Larson, because if Basco doesn't win, the championship fight is not quite done yet. Verge is in the top, and Keyboard Magnussen, again, like you mentioned, came out of nowhere. He was starting, let me just check real quick where he was actually starting, because he just shifted right in the top 4. He gained 5 places since the race started.
What's happening back there? Sorry, we've got action at the back there. Horizon seemed to lose it on the final corner. Whistle is also driving back. Everyone's losing so much positions on that.
Contact.
He lost 3 spaces on one straight.
What is going on in that midfield? We have amazing fight between Giannis, Piggy, John Wick, Ocean Chief, that Ferrari and Aston just pumped wheels for positions, Futuristic, Wizawil, and Larson, who is down to P12 as of right now.
And sorry, just at the front, we didn't notice it with all the action, but Snaxlotl has taken the lead. And I'll tell you what as well, obviously the further down the order you go, the less points you get, but the amount of points you lose between first and second, it's 7 points difference. That could be huge. Even if it means like, oh well, he can win the championship next week. 7 points is a large gap to lose if Larson can maybe take some advantage of it, but he's outside the points right now. He's only being saved by the Haas of Snaxlotl, and Snaxlotl is under pressure himself. Speaking of pressure, Smelto all over the back of Keyboard Magnussen, who is resisting the way he did in Japan, but surely will have to sacrifice it on the straights. Look at how close Smelto is, right under the rear wing. But unable to find a way through, and has already dropped back. They're 2.5 away from the podium where Verch is. So once again, Keyboard Magnussen showing great defensive driving, but not really having the pace throughout the rest of the lap. Surely under DRS, Smelter will have him. And at the front, Basco under DRS. This is what you're going to see a lot of. You're going to see a lot of DRS swapping on this race. It's all going to be about who does the last swap. So Basco reclaims his lead. Verch is lurking there in the background. Smelter will now try and play catch up. Giannis on the hard compound tire is defending brilliantly against this little train, the highest running hard compound runner, proving his worth in that Mercedes at the moment, and hopefully it will be rewarded later when he goes onto the quicker tire. As for our championship in second place, Larson is still only P12 and unable to make any impression on Whistle at present.
Yeah, he's not going to be the fastest man right now. All he has to do is just stick behind Wizard, which is proven to be difficult because he's actually dropping by, not significantly, but still, he's losing some pace. Look at this slip up again, costing a lot of momentum, down to 0.9. If the gap will be larger than 1 second, he will not have a DRS, and this will be a very, very bad moment for Larson. We have yellow
That's
flags,
Magnetic.
spinning, yes.
And Snaxlotl with a 3-second time penalty.
Oh no! The Haas battling has begun. They're already doing it 4 laps in, and Haas is in deep trouble. It looked beautiful from the start.
I tell you what though, that just means that Snaxlotl will say, I mean, he might just pull Ricardo and say, right, well, I'll drive 3 seconds faster then. And look, he's going under Slipstream, and he takes the lead, and now he's going to say, right, bugger it, I've got a 3-second penalty, let's do this. John Wick finally displaces the Mercedes of Giannis, who had held off on those hards brilliantly, but under DRS there's not really a lot you can do, as everyone is smoking in there into turn 1. Larson falling now into the clutches of Hallinan, and not
Larson
able to make any inroads. He's not liking these hard compound tires, but he's just trying to get them out of the way for now. Maybe hoping for a safety car or some such thing, although not really likely on this track. As you can see, it's all very open as Ocean Chief joins the Haas in the penalty box. It's very unlikely to get a safety car here. There's not many hard braking zones where you can rear end someone, and the walls are basically 500 miles away from the track, so it's going to be hard to get a safety car advantage here. But Larson just got to do what he can at this point. We already know it's an outside chance for the championship, but a chance is all you need in F1. As Magnetic tries to recover back. I think he's overheated his tires. He'll just be plodding around. Snaxalotl, I think he ran wide again there. I tell you what, Basco has to deal with Verch as well. Verch has just been loitering a little bit here. And now he uses the overtake, but Basco seems to get the better launch. And actually, Verch has not used overtake there. He's just staying in hot lap. Maybe he's thinking, look, I'm going to conserve my tires, let you two battle away, as Basco basically barges his way through there. Nice alliteration. Oh! Thought I saw a bit of contact with Snaxalotl touching Basco's rear end there. Phrasing. But yeah, Verch seems just content to follow in the slipstream here and let these two tow him along.
We do have some nice fight for P9 as Futuristic is ahead of Will, but they were about to go into one corner 3 men wide. Thankfully they all came out safe and sound as Will is still trying to chase Futuristic, and Ocean Chief sitting at the back of them with Larson dropping down a P13 as he's riding in DRS of the Red Bull of Hallinan, but it looks absolutely awful for Larson. I don't know if it's just a matter of these tires because he's...
Oh! Futuristic off in the gravel and hits the wall. Somehow.
Ooh.
Maybe the brakes weren't working or something. I don't know, but he's lost his front wing, so... Or do we have a safety car, or do we... Whoa! Steady on there, Futuristic. Easy on that throttle, boy.
No safety car. I don't think we're gonna have one so far because we would need like yellow flag in 2 different sectors. We're not gonna have that, so it's gonna be good to go, I believe. Yep, we keep on racing, but Futuristic Race has just been thrown down the sewer. He's gonna have to fight hard to get back in. This is of course great for Larson, who is 1 position higher, 1 position closer towards the pointing finish, which he requires to keep the fight going for the championship. In the meantime, we have some swaps in the front again, and Hallinan actually trying to close the gap on the opposition. Wick and Magnussen switching places again.
Meanwhile, slightly further down, John Wick has been silently making his way through the field. He's now up to P5. He's just past Keyboard Magnussen and setting off in pursuit of Smelto and the front runners. So he's been doing it fairly anonymously, but John Wick is on the move. He's made up 10 places since the start of the race. Well done, that man. So John Wick on the move. Giannis is holding station in P7 at the minute on those hard compound tires and doing a very fine job. Now he's in battle with Piggy, probably the most aggressive driver in the field. This should be an interesting one to watch. And Piggy is all over the back of the Mercedes Petronas. Little lock up from Giannis, but still holding tight. And tell you what, still getting DRS from Keyboard Magnussen, which could be crucial.
Keyboard Magnussen, a bit too wide. He's about to drop up in DRS range to John Wick, and he does. With this mistake, he's no longer in the DRS range of the Ferrari. That's going to be very tough for Keyboard Magnussen to defend his positions, as Giannis is looking for a way past the Kick Sauber. He's getting very close, and now he's going to have a DRS.
Oh, and the Sauber pits. But he will still get DRS, Giannis will still get DRS, and that makes me think, well, maybe the mediums aren't lasting as well as the pit limit, as the pit requirement thought they would. So this is where Giannis may start to come into his own and start making up places on those hard compound tires. Same too for Larson, who is now P10.
Yeah, he made an overtake on Hallinan, and Keyboard went into the pits, so he's back into the pointing position. Let's now keep an eye open on his pace because he's getting closer towards Ocean Chief. I wonder if we can overtake him and chase after Will now that the mediums are degrading slowly but surely, and the hards will surely come into play any moment now as the top 4 is now stuck together. They're not making too many moves as they know there's not much need for it. And now all the things are going on in the midfield, so now we have to wait and see what kind of pace will Larson have to spare. He's currently 0.5 seconds behind Ocean Chief, slowly but surely getting closer towards the Aston Martin, and it seems like he might be in a fight, but he does need a DRS. He has full batteries working. Yellow flags, that's Horizon at the moment, but no damage on him. And wondering how quick is Larson going to be. We also have Piggy still behind Janice, who is only 1.3 away from John Wick. So this could be a huge thing for him if he can cut up to the Ferrari. It's going to be tough to do so, while Piggy will be pushing on his back. Again, leader swap.
Verch making the move. Alongside Snaxalotl, who tries to brave around the outside. Snaxalotl tries to show, Snaxalotl has nearly shown the door, but braves it out. Now on the inside of Verch, they're still side by side. One of you needs to... this is all going to end very badly. This is like Ben-Hur. And Verge does win it out eventually. Well done. He waited for that opportunity to make that move. Now he's got to try and close down Basco. So Snaxolotl is now no longer the main threat to Basco. It's now Verge, who could potentially upset this championship, as these two are now the filling in a McLaren sandwich.
We have Ocean Chief in the pit stop as we speak. He's shifted for a hard compound of tires, and Larson has gained P9 thanks to this. He now has Howland on the back of him, and he's 3.7 seconds behind Wizzawill of Williams, who he's trying to close the gap on, but the hard don't seem too over effective as of right now. They are okay, but they're not the best.
Verge nearly going a bit too wide there. I wonder if he got a warning for that. Basco is doing what he needs to do. He's just keeping it clean. Snaxolotl is not a threat even if he overtakes, because of the 3-second penalty at the moment. Of course, Basco could also get a penalty. As we go back under DRS, Basco has more ERS at this point and is using overtake, but it's not enough to defend against the DRS. The DRS is incredibly powerful here, as Smelto proves on Snaxolotl as well. And Verge leads the race. Oh! Nearly loses the rear there, but does hold the position just about. It shows you that the mediums maybe are starting to struggle a little bit. And you just have to wonder, how long will they take these tires? As Snaxolotl looks to try and get back third place. Can he do so? He's on the inside. He's alongside Smelto, who seemed to go a bit wide. There he loses the rear as well. They're all starting to slip and slide. The mediums are on a knife edge right now, and any one of them could go. Look at them all squirming around on the exit. Smelto and Snaxolotl. Surely Basco is okay though. He's been at the front for that long.
Degrading, but they're not either not too bad yet, or Larson just can't get them to use because he's on the hards and he's not closing almost anything towards Wizzawill. The gap is still about 3.7, 3.8 like it was a lap ago. So either these mediums are degrading and Larson can't make the use of them, or they are still just about okay to keep the gap, especially when we look at Wizzawill and Larson. But Larson was able to pull away from Hallinan, who has lost DRS that he was using from Larson, so this could just mean that Wizzawill has some good pace to spare. Giannis has dropped heavily from John Wick. He was about 1.3 behind him 2 laps ago, now he's about 2.3 behind him, so he lost about a second over the period of 2 laps. So the mediums are definitely scraping, but Larson still can't use those hards good enough to close the gap on the top of the boys.
Gosh, the power of the DRS on that front straight as Piggy does battle Giannis, who does not take it lying down under any circumstances. But Piggy shows in the doors. Magnussen is the latest to join the penalty crew. But Piggy making his way through, having one of his better races here so far. Currently sitting P6, 2.5 seconds off of John Wick in the Ferrari. And just making his way through the field as Giannis is still holding on to those hards. Doing a good job with them. Oh, as I say that, he does a massive big lock up there. But still doing pretty well. Up at the front, meanwhile, these four are basically inseparable. Basco, Verge, Smelto, and Snaxolotl, although he has that penalty, is not giving up. So, they've harvested a bit of ERS. And tell you what, John Wick has closed in a little bit. It was in the 4-second reaches, now we're into the 3-second sorts of gaps. And can Verge do anything on this lap? Of course, this isn't like real life F1 where sister teams exist, so there's no incentive for Verge to help the real-life sister team. And can Smelto maybe move in as Whistle gets 3 seconds? Can Smelto maybe move in and... oh! And they're both pitting! Oh! And I tell you what, Verge hit the back of Basco, and I don't know, that seemed a little bit... I don't know if that was a little bit naughty. It looked like Basco was going to back out and do the dummy, but then he sort of recommitted. So, that's damage for Verge. And I imagine that he will be... yep, here he comes. But he's not repaired that damage because it was too late to do so. I think he might want to have a word with the stewards about that. He will be livid with that move from Basco. He swerved to the pits and then started to swerve left as if to dummy it. Obviously Verge committed to the pit lane and then Basco sort of swerved back into the pit lane. I'm not too sure how they will favour that one, to be honest. But Verge now carrying on with damage, and he's behind Snaxolotl as well. So, Smelto is leading at present, but will pit. Giannis, on the hard compound tire, is now actually leading this race. He got back ahead of Piggy while all that was going on. And Whistle with his penalty is now in 4th place. So, well, if Smelto pits this lap, which he might, Giannis will officially lead an SLR race on debut, which would be a nice little bonus.
Yeah,
Nice little feather in
monitoring
his
the
cap.
gap. I'm monitoring the gap between Larson and Whistle, and it's not decreasing, it's actually growing. Larson, who was about 3.8 behind Whistle, is now about 4.2. So these hearts, which technically should be better at this point in
Whoa,
time,
that was a late move into the pits from
No.
Piggy, and it's happened again. Piggy moved into the pit lane way too late, and he's cut off Whistlewill's nose. He didn't follow the pit entry lines, and Whistle had to slam on the brakes, as Piggy gets 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane anyway as a punishment, but they will be a bit livid with that, as Giannis has gone off the track. He's had a little excursion. Larson is now in 2nd place and catching up to Giannis, and of course he's going long on those hards. So I tell you what, if he keeps up this for a little bit longer, and can you imagine if there was a safety car, Larson would be in the box seat. As long as it stays out for, as long as he's able to stay out for a few more laps. You know, don't discount him yet. Do not discount him. Smelto's 12 seconds behind.
It's going to be tough to have a safety car in here. That is the problem for him. And McLarens are doing the slipstream swapping strategy. We see this be very effective not only in quali but also in the race, as McLarens are now closing in on Larson while going right behind one another. And the gap that Larson has will start to decrease every single lap we go now. Eversnax has dropped out of the DRS. Of course, Verge has dropped out, of course, due to this damage he has suffered. I'm pretty sure that the race director has released a note before the Grand Prix that you have to respect the lines while coming into the pits. If you cross them with the way real life pit lane works, basically the game allows you to do this, but the real life doesn't. I believe this could be penalized, so we're gonna have to check that later on. But this is surely you have to there's something you have to look out for, and they totally didn't. We had 2 moments in the pit lane area, so this is gonna probably affect the race pretty much, as Verge is now down at P6.
Well, I tell you that, I mean, Basco's could be a bit hit or miss, as Verge pits to, he needs to repair that wing. He just cannot survive out there, so that's his race effectively done. I'll tell you what, like, Piggy's one was a slam dunk. He literally crossed at the last second, got speeding in the pit lane to boot, and chopped off Whistlewill's nose. Basco's maybe a bit more touch and go, but I thought it looked like he was selling the dummy. Vert did as well, but instead of committing to the dummy, he actually swapped back to the pit lane. And Vert may say, look, if you hadn't done that, I would have been able to know my braking point and wouldn't have lost my wing, so you cost me my wing. Now, the advantage, of course, is that Vert has gotten the hard compound tires out of the way, as has Whistlewill, as he's fixing his nose as well. So he's just going gung-ho on those medium compound tires to see what can come of that. But it'll be interesting to see what the stewards say after the race. If any reports come through at all, of course, it's up to the drivers to report. We, as commentators, are completely impartial. But looking on the track, the battle at the minute is Ocean Chief and Hallinan in the battle for 9th and 10th. Everyone else is fairly well spread out. Maybe Snaxalol coming into contact with Basco,
slowly closing the gap on Larson, because the gap was about 12 seconds the moment they have left the pit lane, and now it's about 10.7. It keeps on getting smaller every single lap, but Larson's actually doing quite a good job as Peggy gets a free second time penalty. Larson's actually doing a pretty good job holding his ground, because his first stint was pretty awful, but now trying to hold this gap over the McLaren is actually pretty decent, because remember, those hards are very old. They're 14 lap old compared to new hards of McLarens who are swapping DRS, who are actually running behind each other, but he's still somehow keeping the gap relatively big. It's not closing in as fast as I was expecting McLarens to close the gap.
Ocean Chief and Hallinan having a nice side-by-side battle through Sector 1 here. They're still side-by-side. Hallinan does eventually come out ahead though, but no, Ocean Chief is trying to fight him round the outside. That's not going to work on that racing line, no chance, sunshine. So Hallinan does secure 9th place for the moment. The gap is coming down, but I mean, you look at the gap between, like, you know, Verch and Magnetic and see how quickly that's coming down on those mediums. So once Larson gets the fresh mediums on, it'll be very interesting, because everyone else's hards, even if they've pitted, are already a few laps old. So the fresh mediums, if he can make good use of them, he could get a boatload of points. And indeed, Larson does pit. Takes it nice and easy so as not to get the speeding penalty. Smelto will overtake, so will Basco and Snaxalotl. John Wick, I think, will as well. Piggy maybe gets an overtake on Larson. And possibly Keyboard Magnussen as well. But that would still be P8 for Larson, which is a net overall improvement. He's on the faster rubber now until the end of the race. And Piggy will get ahead of him. I think Keyboard Magnussen will get ahead. Yes, he will. So it'll be P8 that Larson is coming out in. An improvement from where he was and on good, grippy rubber. Still one to watch. And of course, Basco is not leading the race at the minute, even if Giannis still has to pit. You know, anything could happen at this point. He's still got Snaxalotl to deal with. I think Smelto will stay behind. But it's looking promising for Basco, but never say never in the world of Formula 1.
As of right now, Larson is still in the points, which means that we're going to have the championship battle extended to the next Grand Prix. That is, if it's going to finish like that, because if Larson would have to make a mistake or somebody else make a mistake, that would cost Larson the positions and drop out of the points. The championship would be decided tonight. We'll see if that's going to be the case, as Basco is closing the gap towards Giannis, but Giannis is actually able to keep this gap pretty okay. It's not decreasing as fast as we would expect it to be. Gone off a bit in the final corner, but it's still keeping it relatively positive.
Oh, a Snaxalotl gets another 3-second warning, so that's 6 seconds now.
Yeah. What did I say about Haas bottling races? Yeah.
Hey, listen, I've just seen the McLaren go wide of Basco as well, so he's not squeaky clean either. And that could have a big impact if other positions change.
Yeah, but there's a bit of a difference between squeaky clean
Smelto!
and
Smelto and Snaxalotl. Snaxalotl is fighting this, he's got nothing to lose. Not giving Smelto the satisfaction, it would seem.
Yeah, he has to put McLaren's under pressure in order to try to force them to make a mistake. Not like literally push them off the track, but put them under pressure, hope that they will slip up or just maybe even lock up and somehow made a mistake that will cost him the 3-second time penalty. Otherwise, he just has to finish the race and accept the fact he's not going to be on the podium. So all he has to do right now is just put McLaren's in some sweaty position, as Giannis is still holding quite nicely, 11 seconds ahead of the McLaren. So the gap is decreasing by about 1 second per lap, which will of course be decreased even more as we go on. It's lap 17 already, so Giannis has to be thinking about the pit stop. He's actually doing quite a nice job holding on to these used hard tires. No slip-ups so far, at least not some major ones. No crucial mistakes, so this is relatively good run from Mercedes driver Giannis, who is still holding on, and there he goes into the pits. He will most likely come out somewhere in the middle, but that was a pretty good stint on these used hards, and now it's all gonna come down to how well can you perform on these mediums. I forgot what was the gap between Larson and Magnussen, because we have yellow flags. That was magnetic. In the back, the gap was about 5 point something when Larson came out of the pit lane. It's 3.7 already, 3.5. So he is closing in on the rivals on used hard tires, and he will surely try to pick up some places before the race will finish, as he will come out ahead or behind ahead of Giannis, who comes out of the pit lane in P8 on fresh mediums. That was a pretty damn good stint from Giannis and Larson on the hards, and now everything is to be picked up by them on the final stint on those mediums.
Indeed, they've still got a fairly long way to go, though, of course, over, well, it'll be 13 laps for Larson, it'll be 11 for Giannis. So they've got some inroads to make, but there are battling drivers up ahead that could cause a few problems as Giannis gets a 3-second penalty. You gotta say that about Larson, he's been keeping it clean compared to those around him, so he could gain a few paces back on penalties here, if he keeps it clean. So Giannis is no longer a threat. Keyboard Magnussen's on penalties. Piggy's got penalties and possibly he has even more. Did he actually serve that 10 seconds? No, he didn't. So he'll go ahead of Piggy. He'll go ahead of Keyboard Magnussen if he can close the gap by a couple of tenths, which I think he will on the fresh rubber. John Wick has no penalties. Snaxalotl has 6 seconds. So Larson could make a good few places up if he keeps it clean and just works his way carefully up the field. At the minute, also, Basco has lost 2 places under DRS. Smelto took the lead, but Snaxalotl has also gotten ahead, and Snaxalotl will not be as kind to letting the McLaren through. He'll have no problems with Smelto going through, but that's the last thing Basco wanted, is a Haas with nothing to lose now in front of him. Because he wants this win.
We do have position swap between Giannis and Larson, and Giannis jumps ahead of Larson as they keep on closing the gap towards their opponents on used old hard tires, as Giannis is now only 2.4 away from Keyboard Magnussen. The gap was about 3.6 last lap, so the gap is heavily decreasing in favor of the Mercedes driver and the VCARB driver, who are relatively safe when it comes to finishing in the points. That is, of course, unless some kind of tragedy would struck for Larson, but if he won't make a mistake himself and not a huge mistake will caught him as well, he will most likely finish in the points. Pace-wise, Ocean Chief, neither Halnan or Horizon are looking quick enough to actually throw a challenge against Larson on the final stint. So he's relatively in a safe spot right now to keep the title fight going to the next race. In the meantime, we do have the fight in the top, and of course we still have Keyboard Magnussen still holding on to the DRS of Peggy with very much used old hard tires.
The problem, of course, now for Larson and Giannis is that they don't want a safety car anymore, because that would just give the hard runners a chance to go on to fresh set of mediums, and they would have to be Larson and Giannis. If they want a safety car, it has to come fairly early on, as Eversnack's all tries to take the lead from Smelto, and very nearly does so. They're side by side, but he loses the rear slightly. Does it afford Basco opportunity to get through? No, it doesn't, not on this occasion. But what that would mean is, if they get a safety car early on, then that means that Giannis and Larson basically offset the pit stop. They could, just stay out. Their medium tires will still be good, not quite as good as anyone who comes into the box. But if it goes on much longer, then they will have the dilemma of, right, do I gain track position by staying out and stay out on very worn mediums, or do I, as Whistle gets another 3-second penalty, or do I box and stay where I am and try and fight with everyone on the same compound of tyre? So if a safety car is going to come for Larson, it has to come fairly soon, as Whistle gets 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. I think he will probably retire after that. Indeed he does. That will not cause the safety car, it will just be the Williams retiring in the pit lane.
Yeah, looking at the positions gained and lost in the race, so far the biggest loser, of course, being Verge, after having his front wing chopped off at the entrance to the pit lane, has lost 9 positions. Looking at from the starting place where he was starting this Grand Prix, and in the meantime, John Wick has picked up 11 positions since the race has begun.
Now hold on, how is that allowed? Surely they'll have to give those positions back. There is overtaking going on into Sector 1, where we had yellow flags waving. I know it's just an AI coming to a stop, but the rule is you shouldn't overtake under yellow flags. They haven't given the positions back yet, so race control seem to think it's alright. But I would have thought that would have been penalties for Snaxalol and Basco, because Smelter was the only one who dropped back.
Yeah, I don't think EA respects those kind of things that much. We do have some fight in the midfield, actually, because Keyboard Magnussen and Giannis were battling it out for a moment. Giannis still trying to find a way past Keyboard Magnussen, as Piggy is lurking behind them. Giannis got a bit off the track now, and Larson looking at everything that's going on ahead of him. Piggy does not want to back it off, but he kind of had to, as Giannis has tire advantage, now chasing Keyboard Magnussen. Larson patiently, safely waiting in this P8, but he does know he has to push in order to pick up positions. Finishing P8 in here will only mathematically will give him a chance to win the title, but realistically, Basco will have a huge advantage.
Oh, yellows. That's Horizon, but he's just recovered from that spin. As Giannis, we'll ask him how he said it afterwards, has a look at Keyboard Magnussen. The veterans be darned. And, whoa, power sliding around the final corner. Giannis will also get DRS, so he'll pull away there. Here comes Piggy. Giannis goes to the inside. Piggy will be ahead, probably. No, he won't. Giannis tries to brave it round on those fresh mediums. Shows Piggy the door. Says, I don't care how aggressive you are. Have some of that, mate. And holds on to P5. Piggy will be stunned by that move, I imagine. No one's ever barged him out of the way like that before.
That was extremely risky from Giannis, because he could have just gave a position to Piggy and then retake it, as he has the tire advantage, but he decided to absolutely does not let Piggy through. It worked out well in the end, but this was very risky maneuver. It could have knocked him out of the potential pointing finish, so he took the risk, but it paid off. Yellow's in the back. That was caused by, I believe,
that's futuristic.
Yep, as Larson is still patiently waiting behind those guys. He's now closing in on Keyboard Magnussen. he does have to get to work. I mean, I'm not sure he's going to be able to win against John Wick, who is now 6 seconds ahead of Giannis. I'm not sure he's going to catch him. So all he has to do realistically is just finish in a close enough gap towards Keyboard, Piggy, and Giannis to pick up 3 positions in the finish line after their penalties will be applied.
Well, there's another one to guarantee that position.
Yeah.
But let's have a look at the penalties there real quick. So it's 3 seconds for Ocean Chief, 6 for Magnussen, 3 for Giannis, and 13 for Piggy. So he will make up a good load of places. And there's no guarantee that Basco even wins at the minute because, well, Snaxalol's ahead of the minute, but Smelto, you know, will he let him through? Will he, won't he? John Wick is also hovering around there. It's looking decent for Basco to win the race, but it will not be the title if it finishes as is. Larson's done an okay recovery here. He's decently inside the points and will make up more places. If he's able to stay within 3 seconds, he will get P5, which is it's a good boatload of points. It's 10 points, I believe. But it will make him a little bit more comfortable, but it will basically mean that he has an entire mountain to climb. But again, if you think about it, I suppose, at the start of the season, I don't think Larson was ever thinking of the title. He's really in this title fight, as is Basco, let's be honest, by promotions from the Alpine drivers. Not to dismiss the Alpine drivers, you know, they're very good drivers. And not to dismiss Basco and Larson, they wouldn't be in the racing league if they didn't race cleanly and properly and race well. But, you know, they've sort of come into this title fight out of nowhere, so I think Larson wouldn't be too sore if he didn't win the title here. I don't think he was ever really expecting it.
Yeah, of course. I'm wondering if Smelto and Basco would fight all the way through for the win. I don't think there is a need to do it, but it's optional because Larson will one way or another finish in the points unless a tragedy will strike. So at this point, I don't see the reason why Smelto should give a win away to Basco. Because, yeah, if Larson would have been out of the points, then the win for Basco would give him a championship. But since Larson will 99% surely finish in the points, then Smelto can actually throw a challenge towards Basco. I mean, sure, it would take away a bit of advantage in the title fight, but the title fight is still almost surely won by Basco. It's a matter of 2 races. I'm pretty sure Basco will be able to reach out for it, and those couple of points will not make too big of a difference. But then again, if he would to lose the championship with a couple of points away, today's race would surely be recalled. So Basco and Smelto will have to work this out together between themselves and decide who's going to take the win.
Just trying to see. I mean, Smelto is mathematically out of it. He's sitting on 70 points. So I believe. Well, Smelto. I mean, theoretically, with 75 up for grabs, he is technically within the mathematical shout at the minute. But I'm pretty sure that unless I'm trying to work out the maths here. I mean, is Smelto possibly able to do this? If he wins and Basco comes second, let's say, that's a 7-point swing.
Does he need the fastest lap as well?
I'm not too sure he's got fastest lap at the minute. Hang on, let me try and work this out. So, if Smelto won, that would put him up to 95 points. Basco taking second would put him up to 129. 129 to 95. I mean, he is still mathematically within with a shout, so... And he's clearly got more of a potential to take the fight to Basco, so... I mean, the thing is, if they finish 1-2, that's good for them in the Constructors either way. So, I really don't see why Smelto should move over. If he's in with a sniff of the title, I don't see why he should move over.
Yeah, the issue is that if he needs a fastest lap today as well, he's most likely not going to get it, because I believe that Giannis was holding the fastest lap on fresh set of mediums.
It is 24-1.
Yeah, so Smelto on used old hard tires will surely not beat this time. So
I don't think he needs the fastest lap to stay mathematically in the title fight. And of course, the advantage is that Basco won't get the fastest lap either, nor will Larson. So, I don't know. I feel like Smelto has, he's certainly not hindered his teammate, but I don't feel like since quali he's really been trying to do him any favors as such. And Smelto must be thinking, well, I could win this. I am still in with a shout of the title, albeit a long shot, but I'm a racer. I want to win races. I want to fight for every point I can get. Speaking of getting points, Larson, although he's going to get ahead on the penalties anyway, is now into P6. And is only 2.4 now behind Giannis. Now, Piggy will try and come back at him, and will do so, but that will not worry Larson. So long as he's able to stay with Giannis, who I believe still only has... Yes, it's only 3 seconds. So it's going to be close between those two. But, you know, I mean, as I say, Larson could get P5 here.
Yeah, Piggy is definitely working in favor of Giannis right now, who's going to hold back Larson a bit. That is, if Larson can pick up the DRS and overtake Piggy without too much of an effort, that would actually help him a bit. But if that's not going to be the case, then Piggy might hold him off just a little bit longer so that Giannis would build a gap over his opponent from the V-carb, and that could technically put him up, secure his position, because as of right now, like you mentioned, Larson would drop the position towards the Mercedes driver, sitting at P5 at the moment.
This is, of course, as well the last lap for a safety car. You take 10% of the race and round it up or down accordingly, so 2.9 round up would be 3 laps. Unless there's a safety car now, we are about to hit the window where a safety car will not show up at all. It will be impossible. The game will not deploy one, no matter if you have like 5 cars in a wreck. As Basco loses out to Snaxlol, and Smelto does take advantage. See, that's where you're thinking, look, you know, he knows that Snaxlol has a penalty, so why, if he was wanting his teammate to win, why would he not just hang back and let Basco hold second on the track? So Smelto appears to be saying, look, no, I am going for this win. Woe betide thee if you try and stand in my way. You're my teammate. If we finish 1-2, we get points to the constructors anyway. I just want to make sure that I'm on the top step. So it's not over yet, and Basco could finish second, and if Larson is able to close that gap and finish 5th, that would be a much closer finish than I anticipated. It's already closer than I anticipated at race start.
Dropped significantly after battling Piggy. He's now down to 3.5 behind Giannis, so it's going to be a tough one for Larson, and Piggy is still in the DRS range of Larson. Knowing how aggressive Piggy can be on the offense, we can assume only that he will most likely try to attack one more time. He does have the battery, he will have DRS. Larson has a tire advantage but doesn't have too much of a battery left, so Piggy might still throw challenge against Larson, who does not decrease the gap between himself and Giannis, so the P5 is still under a big question mark for the V-carb driver.
Thing is, we've seen Giannis making mistakes when their tires start to wear out a bit, and Larson, on the other hand, has been incredibly, you know, you're saying about consistency winning championships. He's been very consistent, as Basco does retake Snaxall but does not get the run on Smelto, and Smelto doesn't do him any favors there. Larson has been incredibly consistent. He knows he's not going to fight this battle here. He won't fight Piggy on the DRS. There's no point in that. He'll just happily tuck him behind. And whether Giannis, you know, can they hold on? Will their tires suddenly hit a cliff? Will there be a mistake, an error, another 3-second penalty? They've shown they're not infallible. So it's not all over for Larson yet. Could be P5. P6 would still be a good result considering where he started. John Wick, we haven't really mentioned, by the way, still holding station with a rather lonely race in P4. It's all about this battle at the front, as Futuristic is in that train, but of course he's ghosted because he is a lap down. And Basco now, Snaxall seems to be dropping back a little bit. Seems to be a battle between the two teammates. It'll be going on to the final lap after this one, and will Basco be able to challenge, and will Smelto allow him to challenge? It's basically, this is the last overtaking opportunity, because you don't get time before the finish line comes up to take take advantage of the DRS straight.
He doesn't have a DRS. He doesn't have a DRS. The gap was over 1 second, so Basco shouldn't have a DRS.
Unless he puts the brakes on very suddenly, I think Basco may have to settle for second here. Snaxalol's making the move. It's meaningless, of course, because, you know, he's got the time penalties, but Smelto is not letting this one go to his teammate. Smelto is cracking on, unless he pulls over at the very last second.
Yeah,
let's watch them on this final lap.
Internet mistakes, so Snax is back to P3. As of right now, the only hope for Larson to pick up P5 is that if Giannis will pick up another 3-second time penalty, because the gap between Piggy, who is ahead of Larson at the moment, and Giannis is 4.5, so even with the 3-second time penalties for the Mercedes driver, Larson would not overtake him unless he picks up another penalty. And look at Smelto's pace. He's absolutely on fire right now, delivering some great moment as he builds.
He's not giving this place up, is he? He is not giving the win to Basco. I'll tell you what, as well, John Wick is on course for a podium because it's a 6-second penalty for Snaxalol. John Wick in the Ferrari has just silently made his way up from the lower reaches of the teens to a podium position. So well done to him. He's been a quiet race. But this could be the story at the end of the season. If things go wrong for McLaren, in these last 2 rounds. As you said, we may well look back on this race and say, why didn't Smelto let him through? You know, Larson has not had a brilliant race, but he's gotten a good boatload of points considering where he started. Basco has not taken advantage. He's not been able to secure the win. It will be Smelto that takes it, as we see Futuristic backspinning across the line. Basco will take 18 points and will not get the title today. John Wick ascends to the podium. Snacksall does stay ahead of Giannis. And Larson will get P6 at the finish line there. 1.8 behind Giannis.
10 seconds for not completing one of the penalties.
He had his pit lane speeding penalty, but as he got it going into the pits, he doesn't serve it. So, potentially controversial, potentially a title decider, potentially allowing Smelto a sniff at the title. With 2 to go, he's taken maximum points and eats into the lead of not only Larson ahead of him, but also his teammate.
The question is how big of a gap will be between those guys after Basco still had a good race. He picked up P2, it's not like he's out of the points, so the gap will decrease a bit, but is this going to be enough to close it on the final 2 races of the season?
Let me try and work this out here, just on the, and obviously there are provisional standings barring any penalties, because you know, Basco may be under investigation by Red Bull wanting to have a look at that. So let's see, Basco picked up 18 points. That's 129 he sits on. Larson finished P6, which is 8 points, I believe.
I'm not sure.
Which would put him up to 91. And Smelto takes 25, which puts him up to 95. So Smelto actually jumps Larson in the title fight. And we already know that Larson is still mathematically in with a chance. So yeah, Smelto is now the main title rival to his teammate Basco.
That's going to be interesting to watch.
This is interesting. So, you know, the Constructors is up for grabs, but it's not like it's basically going back to, we haven't seen an inter-teammate battle for the title since the days of the Silver Arrows back in 2016.
Yeah. We do have our first 2 guests waiting on us. Those are Eversnacks from Haas and Futuristic from the V-Car. Who do we want to bring in first?
Hold on, bear with me 2 seconds. I'm just switching to interview there. And let me just exit the game so it's not blaring out in the background.
Sure.
And you can bring in... who have we got sitting in there, sorry?
Eversnacks from Haas and Futuristic from V-Car, as of right now.
I imagine Futuristic will want to drown his sorrows, so we could bring him in first.
Okay.
Futuristic, you might as well talk to us before you go and down a shot or 5 after that race. What happened, lad?
I don't know. Well, I couldn't care less at this moment, so...
Oh. Well, I mean, you must care a little bit because you're sitting in the interview room there for us. Do you want to... I mean... What was the incident that sent you back there? It was... There was contact, I believe, wasn't there? Did you see who it was with, or...?
No, I didn't. It's just a stupid mistake out of turn 14 or 15 or whatever. And hit the wall. And from there on...
Oh yeah, that's right. Sorry, I was getting mixed up there. So.
Bigger slope.
And did the brakes just not do anything? You carried a lot of momentum carrying it going across the track there.
Throttle stuck. Hardware failure.
Well, I mean...
Got away real quick. But
you know,
it was
fair enough. I mean, unlucky, of course, but I mean, what are your thoughts then for the last 2 races? Then we've only got 2 races left in the season. You're obviously hoping for a better result. Was this just a bogey track for you, or?
I mean, I wasn't even planning to race today, and I'm not even sure if I'm gonna do the last 2 anyways.
Oh well, we'd love to see you personally. You know, you're an integral part of the grid, and of course, looking at the constructors, you know, I mean, you're in a bit of an anomalous position in 3rd at the minute, but you know, if Sauber improve or McLaren have a bad couple of races, you know, you've got to, you know, still fight for every point, surely.
I mean, for the team, Lawson has done a mega job the whole season, so I guess I will try for him to keep the 3rd position in the constructors.
It will be good, I think. I know we all have our bad races. We all have races like that, but we want to forget. So we'll not go on about this one any longer. Thanks for coming in the interview, and better luck next week, Futuristic.
Thank you.
Let's see. So we've got Horizon. Shall we get Horizon in as well? Just hear his sorrows. We're basically a bar at this point. We'll pass them a drink as they come in. Let them drown their sorrows with us. Horizon, pull up a bar stool, have a whiskey, and tell us about your sorrows. What happened, lad?
One question: could you add ever snacks again?
But what? Put you both in together?
Yes.
Is this a double sorrow? Are we both drowning our sorrows in the bar tonight?
Finally, we can cry about our race together.
I mean, come on, Snacks. Yours wasn't that bad. You got P4 in the end. It's not that bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a fun race as well. I'm actually not in a complaining mood today. It was a super fun race. I loved racing against the two McLarens. In the end, the team play was just too much for me. I couldn't get past them, and the penalties at the end. I was so close to a podium, but then I was sitting in the car. I was sitting in the car just driving, and then suddenly I was just feeling kind of tapped out. If you know what I mean. I was just feeling tapped out suddenly. So yeah, technical issues there at the end. Could have been a P3, but I'll take P4. I mean, it's good points. It's good points for the team as well. We're finally starting to rise in the standings.
I was going to say, because I know you're at the tail end, but before this race, you were only 3 points away from Ferrari in the constructors. And, Williams had a bad day today, so you're closing on them. They're only on 48 points. Even Aston Martin aren't that far ahead. So Ferrari will pull away from you a little bit because, of course, John Wick got the podium. But, I mean, potentially 7th in the constructors, considering where you were at the season start. That's not bad showing by the end.
Yeah, I think I'm finally starting to catch my luck, catch back up to the other drivers as well. And, I'm finally getting where I think I can be with my pace. I do think I can fight for these podium positions, and I'll just hope that for the rest of the season. How many more races is it even? I don't even know. 2 races. Yeah. I'll hope that in the final 2 races I can fight up there and bring some points home.
Indeed. And Horizon, you didn't tell us what happened to you.
On the first lap, I think Keyboard Magnussen dive bombed because there was just many collisions, many wings, much debris, and also a very, very big milestone for me. I turned off every assist. That was the reason why I'm so slow. Why we're so slow in this race. I just focused on clean driving, doing little mistakes or none. I'm just completely, I don't know, I have no words. Sorry. It was also a long day for me.
That's alright.
It was a long race too. Lots of fights. It was a fun one.
Well, anything to add there? Punk?
No, not really.
I do just want to put out my condolences here at the end to Works. We were fighting in a practice session before the race, and then in the race as well. We were fighting with him and the McLarens for a bit. That was super fun fights with him. Very clean racer. Very you can depend on him not to do any dirty tricks. And yeah, I just wanted to say that it's a shame that he had that crash at the pit entry, and then of course the 2 pit stops ruined the race for him. Yeah, it was fun driving with him though.
Indeed. Well, I was going to say that, yeah, that's all we've got there because the interview room's empty now. So the Haas drivers, again, you need to bring your luggage with you if you're making this your temporary home. But yeah, that's all we've got for today. I believe next week is the penultimate round, which is
Imola.
Oh boy, that'll be a fun one. Right. So Imola next week, the penultimate round of the season. And the championship is mathematically open to 3 drivers. Basco still in with a bigger shout, but Smelto showed today, as we saw, by not passing the win over, that he is prepared to fight tooth and nail with his teammate. And Larson is still in there as well, potentially for the title. So we will see how it could potentially conclude next week, but we hope it goes to the final round because it's always great when it does. Until then, I have been your host, Lars.
I've been CM Punk.
And these 2 assholes are the Haas drivers.
Hello?
No, I love you.
Sorry?
Sorry.
Could you repeat it, please?
Sorry, these 2 Haas-holes are the Haas drivers. And we will see you next week. These 2 will not see you because they'll be out on the track. Get out of our comm box, I swear down. Get out, get the broom. Get out. Come on. He actually did. There you go. It worked. Right. See you around, guys. We'll see you next week.